Hi guys, welcome to the Lifestyle Design Secrets podcast. I'm your host Amy, and we're going to be covering conversations about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and a whole lot more. Enjoy. Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast, and thanks for joining us. Nearly 100 of you have listened to episode 1.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
Yeah, which is really, really cool. So thank you for that, and for sitting through Paula and I giggling and coughing as I recover from flu. I've got Krista here today, which I'm really, really excited about. And apart from wanting to get her on anyway, one of the big reasons I asked Krista to come on was she slid into my inbox the other day with an incredible newsletter with the title, "It Smacked Me in the Face." Which made me think I need to work on my email newsletter subject line. But anyway, so the intro to the newsletter read, "I hope the start of winter hasn't smacked you in the face like it did me. We've just emerged from a 4.5-day inversion layer, a layer of grey shit that envelops you and makes you feel miserable and claustrophobic," which I'm sure a lot of you guys who are local will be very familiar with. Anyway, she goes on. "As we move towards the shortest day here in NZ and some much cooler weather, I think it is so important that we have a focus when it comes to moving our body. It can be so easy to spend days on end, rugged up in front of the fire, smashing out work or watching movies and eating snacks. I decided to commit to a 16-week program through my gym to see me through the winter and out the other side with a clear purpose and focus every day. I urge you to consider what your focus is for the coming months and what structures you are going to put in place to make it easier for you to show up with discipline and consistency. Maybe it's as simple as blocking out time in your Google Calendar and colour coding it."
Yes!
Painfully simple. And a beautiful final thought of, "Choose to move your body for your mental health as well as your physical health this winter," which I think is really, really important for everyone.
That sounds way better now you've read it back to me. Wow!
So, Krista, you own and run Wild Desert Creative, which
yes.
I'll let you introduce. Tell everyone a little bit about you to get us
going. Okay. I was thinking about this driving in, and I was like, isn't it funny how when we're asked who we are or what we do, we always just dive into the boring parts of our identity and what we think we should be. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm like this fiery Sagittarian who loves to think outside the box, and I am a question asker. Like, I will ask questions if something doesn't make sense to me. I will continue to ask questions until it does. And if I can find a shorter way to do something that gives me like a mint outcome, I will do it. And I'm just all about work smarter, not harder. And within my business, I think I do that with my clients. I love to ask them questions. I do a lot of graphic design for them. I do a lot of email template, a lot of marketing copy, just a whole lot of fun stuff. And I love supporting women solo in business or who feel very alone, because I just love to have a chat. Like, I'm a chatterbox, clearly.
Yeah. And I think you haven't mentioned your superpower, which is your energy. And I completely agree with that. And I think what you do for a lot of women is actually build them up, build their confidence up.
Yeah.
To be able to give them the power to do what they really want to do.
Yeah, and I think I used to talk about that a lot. Like, my energy is my superpower, and just cheerleading people on. And for a long time, I was like, how the fuck do I get someone to pay me just for my energy and just to like sit and cheerlead them on to do what they want to do because they don't have the confidence to do it themselves? And I feel like I'm getting there, or I'm sort of there. But yeah, it's been a year of like trying things and throwing things out and pivoting and messy action, and it's been fun.
Messy action.
Messy action. Pivoting, messy action and pivoting is like my mantra within business.
Yeah, me both. I reckon. Oh, so after that delicious intro, moving on to the main course, I think what you've touched on is really, really important, in that so many of us, I did an interview with More FM a while ago and just shared it on the podcast recently, how you can really just sink into the anonymity of winter. Like we were just talking about, getting rugged up in front of the fire, and just really not letting go, but losing your purpose, like you say. So I want to go way back. So what made you start your health journey in the first place? Can you remember where it all began?
I can. And there was one defining moment when I was still working in an admin job, and I remember my exact words to one of my colleagues was, I just wish I was like one of those gym people, one of those people that just went to the gym and, it's easy and it's their lifestyle. And that was pretty much exactly what rolled off my tongue. And I didn't know back then what I know now and like how all of this has come about. But I did. The next day, I went to the gym next door to my work and I signed up for a gym membership. And I just started going to classes because I had no confidence. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I think a number of people get put off going to gyms because of things like that, but just starting with a class and, building your confidence up and learning what you're doing and what your body can do. I just built confidence really fast. But that one defining moment, I don't think I'll ever forget it. And there was another one, and I just was so uncomfortable in my body at this certain point. And I walked out to the lounge one day, and my now husband was like, "Oh, you look like you're 6 months pregnant." Like just like my posture
not
was really bad.
Way.
No, just like as a passing, I guess, he's a bit of a jokester. He probably thought it was real funny, but because I wasn't feeling good in my body, I was like, yeah, you're fucking right. Like, I need to do something about this. Like, I just felt really uncomfortable.
You have hit on a really interesting topic there, because I always used to look back and go, God, my boyfriends were shit. They called me chubby. They told me, don't go to a boot camp. I'll just pay you to eat lettuce and run on a treadmill. Was one genuine, but he was joking. He was finding it funny. And you know what actually hit home a lot later was the fact that I was going, oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I hate the way I look. I feel so uncomfortable. He was just mirroring that back to me with what he thought was the solution. Or comedy.
Yes.
Like, it was not anyone being mean. It was actually someone reflecting what I already knew back to me, and it made me feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
I think it's probably an unpopular opinion.
I think you're probably right, but I stand by that as well, because I think when you know as much as we do about personal development and our identity and how we feel, just all the things, we know that we need to take self-ownership of that, and you become so much more self-aware of everything that you are.
Whoops, maybe it's not their fault.
Yep.
The other thing that you mentioned is I want to be one of those people. There's one of those gym people who find it so easy, and I touched on this with Paula as well, is it's okay for you. Must be so nice to be you.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, probably if you'd seen the work that had to go into actually probably, and the pain, you've actually answered one of my questions already. So what began making you want to move your body in the first place? Often it comes from a place of pain or feeling uncomfortable in your own skin.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's, you don't move. I think it's the same with anything, whether it's your physical health or anything. You don't move until the comfort is so uncomfortable and unbearable that you're like, fuck, I need to make some change, and if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I was in that sort of spiral, I guess. Like, I'd always played sport as a teenager at high school and things like that, and I was really, really good at it, and athletics. And then I went to uni and found drink, and I think everyone does. I think it's a thing.
Like a common thing.
Oh, isn't it? Yes. And I'd never had any problems with my body. Like, I know a lot of my friends and women around me have grown up with, they've had eating disorders, or they've had like bad thoughts about their body. I was never like that at all. I never had any with food or my body image. But then I went to uni and was eating crap because we didn't have that at home. We lived in the country. Dad cooked like meat and veg and real good nourishing food. And I was like, fuck yeah, look, I'm away from home now. Like, I am going to like dive into Domino's and McDonald's and pasta, and not the pasta's bad, but like, all the time.
That's exactly what Paula said as well. Like, she used to go and get a McFlurry every night because she never had McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that just became normal.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge factor for a lot of people as well. It's either a change in job, change in environment is so huge. I've got one client at the moment who was going to get a hot chocolate every day because she'd lived in the country on a farm for so many years and you just couldn't do that.
Yes.
So it was the comfort of seeing people and because you could.
Yep. Yes.
Just a change in environment.
Yeah, that's all exactly right. And I think when we change environments or jobs or whatever the case may be, sometimes we can make that excuse that time is of the essence and we don't have time to do things. Like, that's absolute utter fucking bullshit. And in my opinion,
I'll go to explicit content. Sorry, which I knew was going to happen. It's sorry for offending anyone.
Adults only. No, but it's such rubbish. Like,
I often have this debate with clients when they first start and they go, I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to make my breakfast, or I don't have time to make my lunch, followed by the admission that they have to go to the cafe every day because they haven't prepped their lunch, which is, let's be honest, even in Cromwell, a 10-minute drive to the cafe, leaving the office, you maybe wait for something to be heated up or wait in a queue. You get something that someone else has made for you with no real idea of what's in it.
No.
Or you just pick it out because of habit. And it's probably at least a half an hour round trip, I reckon.
And I think it's asking yourself the question, why don't you have the time? Have you spent like 10 to 15 minutes scrolling your phone, like while you're having your coffee or while you're lying in bed? You know, like, I think some people aren't aware that, and I used to be like that. I'd probably spend 20 minutes like scrolling my phone before I got up, before I had my pinpoint moment and changed the way I did life.
The way you did life.
The way I did life.
The lifestyle design secrets, you see. There's all the shit that people don't see often. So, how has your journey with fitness and movement morphed, would you say, over the years? Does it come and go? Has it changed?
So I think, obviously I touched on that I did a lot of sport as a young girl, and that was awesome. But then I didn't really enjoy social sport, all the political stuff that goes on the side. Like, I'm so not here for this. So the gym was something that really appealed to me because I am a self-motivator. Like, I can motivate myself really well, and I think that's part of my human design. But I didn't have the confidence. So I signed up for a gym membership. I started going to classes and quickly realized, like, these are good, but it's not really my cup of tea. And then I was sitting waiting for class one morning in the gym, and this girl that I admired, she came up to me, and like, we chatted a wee bit, and she came up to me and she's like, oh, do you want to like lift some weights with me one day, like just do a session? And I was like, this scares the absolute shit out of me, like, this is so uncomfortable right now, but yeah, sure, like, I'm just gonna fake this. I would absolutely love to. So she put me into that, and then I actually signed up to do a I don't even know what it was called, but it was all about learning about the 3 big lifts, like deadlifts, squats, and bench press.
Oh, yeah.
And just signing up for that through one of the PTs at the gym and learning the proper techniques and feeling like he would build your confidence and he would teach you really well. And once I knew those 3 things, I was like, man, like, I could go into the gym and just do like a workout that someone's given me or whatever. And then I signed up for an 8-week challenge through a woman in Sydney and that's how it really got started. And it was just online. There was like a food aspect to it and an 8-week gym program, like 5 or 6 workouts a week, I think. And I remember the first ever night of that, we were living in our house in Cromwell, and I think for dinner I was supposed to make like chicken, broccoli and kurma. And I had never followed anything like this before. Like, I'd never really thought much about my food. I didn't eat real bad, but I never thought about portions or counting macros or any of that sort of thing. And that's what sort of put me on this path, is that I was doing that, but I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't do this. I'm going to fail. Like, there's no way I can get to the end of 8 weeks. Like, this is just ridiculous. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, it's so funny how we can work ourselves up when something is so out of our normal.
It's terrifying.
It is. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like, I'd already decided it's okay if I fail on night 1. And I didn't fail. I went on to do so many of those back to back.
Yeah.
And then I became an ambassador for her.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I just absolutely love it. But I think on the food aspect, I'd never grown up with any problems with food or my body, and then she made me look at it in a completely different way by completely ripping everything apart and building a solid foundation about, learning about protein and fat and carbs and how much you should be putting in your body and all of that. And that was really good. And I appreciated building the knowledge and counting macronutrients or whatever the case may be. And I had to do that to get to where I am now. Like, I wouldn't go back and do that now, but I believe if that's your path and that's what you need to do to learn a strong foundation, then go all in, like, do it. Like, I probably went all in for 2 years on all of that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's something, because counting calories or counting macronutrients, as you mentioned, which is far more important in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
People go, oh no, that's too much, that's too restrictive, that's too hard. You've just proven it's not something you need to do forever. It's something you do as a learning experience. It's like treating your body like a university.
Yeah.
Working out what works.
Honestly.
And how it reacts.
Yeah. Because I used to get upset gut quite a lot, like with a lot of dairy, like ice cream and kiwi onion dip, for example, like, which we all bloody love. But it just didn't agree with me. And I refused to stop eating that stuff because I was like, whatever. But I cleaned up my act for so long that now I can enjoy these things and it's fine.
Your gut's completely reset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I moved from that more into intuitive eating and learning more about ingredients and things and making a lot of stuff, because I love being in the kitchen, so making stuff from scratch, and I thoroughly enjoy doing that. And I don't think about counting or weighing anything anymore. Like, that was 6 years ago.
Probably because you know what you're eating, you're making a lot of it yourself. It's natural.
Yeah.
It's good ingredients. I was just watching your stories the other day with like half a cattle beast on the counter.
So good.
Yeah, I know. I need to get way more into that. I've got back into making bone broth for the winter, which is thrown around as a huge health term, but I think it's delicious.
God, yeah.
And really, really good for you. So full of collagen. And the beef tallow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, beef fat.
Tell me how you make that. Because I just scrape it off the top of my bone broth and then use it for things.
Well, if you can't render down your own, which you can, everyone can, and you can put in the show notes if you like, there's a link to Moorish Organic Butchery in New Zealand, and you can just buy raw beef fat and you can render it down at home yourself. That's how I started doing it before we had our cattle done. But I just asked the home kill guys, can you please pull out like the fat from around their organs is like the best stuff to be using. And then my crock pot's probably on like full steam night and day for like a week when it gets done, but it's so worth doing it straight away. And you literally leave it in your crock pot all day or all night, strain it, let it go hard, and bang it up in the freezer. It is the easiest thing. I can give you a doc to put in the show notes if people want to try it, because honestly, I buy olive oil for like dressings and things like that, but
Do you use that as butter?
I use butter as well,
okay.
Like butter, beef fat, and like olive oil for dressings and things. But other than that, I don't use anything else now. Like beef fat wedges are like one of our go-to. Like, I can't get enough. They are the best things ever.
I've seen a lot of that online as well. It looks really, really good. Bringing us back from cutting out council based, which most Kiwis probably don't even have access to. Some do. We're quite lucky over here, but most don't. So I suppose I'm doing supermarket abridged version. Everyone, in case you're interested, you can buy beef soup bones from the supermarket, and they're like $2 or $3 each. And
that's good.
Yeah, really good. Really, really good. So that's to make bone broth, and like I said, you get quite a nice layer of fat on top.
Yeah, and it's
not as good as Krista.
but it's even, when you're cooking anything, whether you're cooking like a roast lamb or you're cooking bacon or whatever the case may be, it's not cleaning your pans. It's keeping the fat in there and using that to, cook your eggs for breakfast or whatever the case may be. Just really, it's going to save you a a few dollars as well. Especially at the moment.
Say it's something fortune.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
No, I think that's awesome, and just doing really simple stuff like that I think people have probably forgotten over the years that probably people used to do heaps.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I also think there was a weird time, especially back probably when our parents were a bit younger, mine especially, where they were told that animal fats and all of that and butter are really bad for you. And I have this discussion, Dad's brought it up with me and I'm like, oh, that's utter bullshit.
It's still in the New Zealand nutrition guidelines that you should cut the fat off your meat.
Sacrilege.
I shouldn't get you started down that.
No way. That's ridiculous. Don't do it.
And we were talking this morning about the protein requirements on there as well. Chronically low. But maybe a story for another day.
Yeah.
So back to exercise. So how important is exercise for your mental health?
Oh my God.
As well as physical.
So important. And I think, especially at this time of year, and that's why I put it in my newsletter, is when the weather is like this consistently, actually finding the time, making the time to move your body however feels good for you. For me, it is going to the gym and lifting heavy things. I really thrive on it. Yeah, and I just, after leaving the gym or after doing some exercise, going for a walk, whatever the case may be, you just feel so much better. Yeah. And then that creates that domino effect where you want to fuel yourself with better food. You want to you've got more energy to do this, that, and the next thing instead of continuing to binge a Netflix series. I'm not saying that's bad. I definitely do it, but not all day, every day.
And you've just, 100% mirrored the language that Paula used this morning. She said, if I don't do my morning workout, that's my domino.
Yeah.
That's my first domino. If I do that in the morning, everything flows. If I don't, it all turns to custard.
Yeah.
You lose that focus. You potentially lose the promise you've kept to yourself.
I think it's so funny. I had this discussion with someone not that long ago when I actually changed up my whole routine, because for probably, oh my God, I don't even know when I started all of this, maybe 3 or 4 years, I was getting up at 5, going to the gym, then doing breakfast, making sure everything was prepped to get to my office desk at 8:30. And then I just had this realization a few months ago. I was like, why am I doing this? I don't want to be.
Were you still doing it when you were working for yourself?
Yeah, not getting up as early, but I was still getting up, doing a workout. And I wasn't a member of the gym. I've just recently gone back in March, but doing something at home. And then there's breakfast, shower, get ready. And then it'll be 9:30, 10 o'clock before I'd sit at my desk. And my power time to do work is in the morning. I was like, this is so stupid. It crosses over. And I'm not very productive in the afternoon. So I was like, why am I not going to the gym?
Yeah.
At 1:30, 2 o'clock. It's that being self-aware enough to be hold on a minute and ask yourself the questions about, does my routine still suit the way that I want to live life? And mine wasn't. I was like, this is so silly. So now I go at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm not rushing because I know that it doesn't matter what happens after then. I can get home, can have a shower, I can cook something, start cooking and prepping dinner. Whereas I found, when I was going in the morning, I was wasting a lot of my productivity time for work.
You've just made me think that's quite funny actually, because I don't really struggle in the afternoons, but I've been waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock sometimes, and it's pitch black outside. And that's amazing when you wake up at that time without an alarm and you actually got kind of hyper focus.
Yep.
And for a couple of weeks, I was really beating myself up for getting my laptop out and actually working for a couple of hours before I went to the gym or went out for a hike or whatever, because my motto and my suggestion even for clients is generally, we've got to realize that we're really lucky to be able to do that in the middle of the day. A lot of people aren't.
Very much so.
I think when you exercise in the morning, you wake up and you go and do it, you have no excuses.
Totally.
No stresses or strains have had a chance to enter your day. But I think you also, whereas if you've had a stressful day at work and then you try and go at 5, 6 p.m. and you're exhausted, your boss has yelled at you, you've got home and the kids have screamed, and it's just you're mentally drained. So I think going in the morning is really, really awesome for a lot of people. But yeah, you're quite right, just rejigging your routine so it works for you, and you can do it whenever you want. And this is I actually think we've never actually talked about this, but you were obviously the same until recently, how much we have been ruled by the 9 to 5.
Yes.
And that we have to do absolutely everything we can, everything that's good for us.
Yes.
Outside of that time. And I think it's quite hard for women, possibly after having children or when they work for themselves or work from home, to get our heads around the fact that we shouldn't feel guilty for exercising in the middle of the day or for working at 6 a.m.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
it's quite interesting.
I will quite often get up and maybe do like 20-minute yoga stretch or something, like in the morning.
Just to get your blood flowing.
Yeah, just that, but not like jumping into like deadlifts and squats and lunges and all the fun stuff. Just really like peeling it back. And like you mentioned, I felt like I had to get up at like 5 o'clock to like fill 2 hours solid of like stuff I wanted to do before I went to work for the man. And that's fine. If you love it. But oh my goodness, it can get really draining. And I think it's not feeling like you have to do all these things. I think especially if you follow a lot of people online who potentially have like amazing structured morning routines, don't feel like you have to journal, like have a bloody cacao ceremony, like do some yoga, you don't have to do all the things. Pick one thing.
I think you've hit on a really good point in the wellness industry where you might see all these people doing all of these things and waking up and, like you say, getting in a bloody sauna and doing a workout and drinking their bulletproof coffee and doing all these things before their kids even wake up. And it doesn't have to be. Like, most people can improve their health just by shifting the dial of, like you said, just moving your body, getting your blood flowing. Like a lot of what I work through with clients, a lot of my clients can't even exercise if they're injured or older. So focusing on food is the major lever that we can pull. It makes such a difference. And then for lots of them, it's actually just getting out and going for a walk, like getting the blood flowing again for your mental health.
Absolutely.
I think, as much as your physical.
And I think you're right with the food aspect as well. And I don't know if Paula touched on 75 Hard. I'm sure she did, because it was a massive part of her life.
She didn't actually.
Oh, did she not?
No.
Okay, well, that was one of the best things I have ever done. Like, I've been on this journey for a few years before I did 75 Hard at the start of last year. So I started in January last year, finished in March. And I just strongly suggest everybody do it if they need a reset, because all of the things that you have to tick off, it really brings you back to what's important, because you need to fit these things into your day. And as soon as I would say to somebody, you've got to do 2 45-minute workouts a day, instantly they are just like clouded over, glazed over, cut off. They're not interested. It's too hard. And it's actually only an hour and a half. And one of them, I would always do yoga. That's what started me into yoga. And that has been like one of the best things I've ever done.
But what's quite interesting these days, Krista, is you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
2 workouts a day. That's probably unhealthy.
No.
Moving your body twice a day, you're obsessed.
Isn't it crazy though? I know, but you're right. Do you know what the other big thing that came out of it was? Why are you doing it in summer? Like it's drinking time. I'm like, well, this is a massive challenge for me, because actually we do live in a society like that. Yeah, love a margarita. But I was like, I want to challenge myself even more, and I ended up going 100 days without alcohol.
Amazing. And I actually know a couple of friends who've done it recently, and it's changed their relationship with it. Like, not completely, not fully. And they're not saying never ever again. Lots of them are back to drinking as we would quote normally. But just with a very different headspace.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's a really interesting aspect. Love 75 hard.
Oh, honestly.
I've never done it.
Link it into the show notes for everybody.
So much about it.
Yeah. It is an absolute game changer if you're prepared to go all in. And the funny thing is, it's a mental toughness challenge. It is not a physical transformation challenge. It is a mental toughness challenge.
Because one of your, workouts, for example, can be a walk.
That's what I used to do. I used to get up and either do 45 minutes of yoga from YouTube, or I'd go for a 45-minute walk. I might do weights. I did it all at home. I wasn't part of a gym at that point. So quite often my 2 workouts were a walk and yoga.
Yeah.
So it's not 45 minutes of deadlifts. Like I think we can get so wrapped up in the word workout or doing a workout or exercising, but going for a walk is exercise. That is moving your body.
I walk with a lot of my clients, which would probably make me really extreme because, if I'm going to the gym or going for my own walk or hike and then I walk the dog and then I walk with a client.
You're crazier than me.
I'm exercising 3 times a day. My God. My goodness. I'm trying to think what else we could cover that would be quite interesting for people. So bearing in mind that 75 hard is quite extreme for many people. I'm wiggling my fingers for anyone who's not watching the video. What would you say is one of the easiest levers you could pull in terms of fitness, nutrition, mindset for anyone, not even at the point of considering a 75 hard, but perhaps where you were sat in your office all those years ago?
I think that's such a big question. I really think learning self-awareness and listening to your body, and I think that's very hard when you have been so used to filling it with crap, smothering heaps of shit on it, and you live in a toxic environment filled with whatever. I think it can be very hard. Everything can get very clouded, but once we can step back and we can start to listen to our body and what it's telling us, whether that's in regard to the workouts you're doing, potentially they don't suit you or your body doesn't like them. The food that you're eating, it's your body's telling you if it likes it or not, or the times that you're eating. When I was doing the challenges way back 6 years ago, I was having breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, dinner, because that's how it was set out. And I didn't know any different. Yeah, and she was world bikini, whatever you call them. And I didn't know any different. But like I said earlier, it completely scrapped me back and started me building a foundation. Whereas now, I probably eat breakfast at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'll have a snack after the gym. I drink a lot of water. And then I have dinner, but I know that I want to put in good fats and protein and stuff so that I am full and I don't feel like I want to grab for rubbish. It's that self-awareness. It's listening to your body. I think we can get so caught up in the next shiny thing or what such and such is saying, but potentially it's actually not what you need or what's good for you or what fits into your schedule either.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a huge element to being kind to yourself and just taking small steps. I think self-awareness,
experiment
with Paula, and education. Taking the time to stop and learn.
Yeah, definitely. Ask questions and experiment. Does eating breakfast at 5 a.m. suit me, or do I feel better when I have it at 9?
Yeah.
Do I thrive on having bacon and egg bagels, or am I better with banana pancakes?
You know what I just heard the other day that didn't really blow my mind at all, but I found it really interesting. Did you know where breakfast is the most important meal of the day came from?
Where? Oh, the cereal people?
Kellogg's campaign for cornflakes in the 70s.
I have read that. Yes. And that cereal and grains and all of that. Why we're told that is because that's their business.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to that anymore. I unsubscribed from a lot of what society had told me and what I'd been led to believe for so long. When I started to become more self-aware and started to ask questions and listen to myself, I was like, wow, I don't want to do that. Can't remember the last time I had cereal. Wow. And toast never fills me up. So you know, like just, yeah.
And you said something really interesting there. Toast doesn't fill you up. That's what most people, when they start with me, they're eating toast, cereal, maybe a yogurt, but like, you know, like the vanilla kind that says it's high protein and low fat, so that's all good. And they don't realise they're throwing maybe between about 8 and 12 teaspoons of sugar at their body.
Yeah.
Start in the morning, which kicks you out of your body's natural fat metabolism and will likely spike your glucose and your insulin and make you hungry very soon afterwards. So I spent years eating porridge, oats, just I don't mind oats, but just oats by themselves with water, starving an hour later.
That just makes me so sad, because one of my massive things is, and I think this is also part of my human design, is I have to enjoy what I'm eating. I have to like prepare it, like preparing it. It looks good, and I have to enjoy eating it. If I don't like the flavor, and I think this should run for everybody. If you don't enjoy it and you don't like it, fucking get rid of it. Like, make it better. Ask questions. Like, upskill. Yeah. Like, how can you make, like, you know, whatever it is better?
Another amazing point you put on there is, like, you haven't eaten cereal for years. We push ourselves through so much. Well, like you said, the old rhetoric of, like, cereal and your parents being told to cut the fat off meat, which I still speak to a lot of people who that's their truth still.
Yeah,
there's still a lot of that messaging around, and I think we forget that sometimes. And so when I tell people to leave the fat on meat, or consider eating bacon and eggs for breakfast, they're very confused.
Yes.
Very much so. We're talking about loving what you're eating, and people get really excited but also nervous when I suggest eating eggs for breakfast. It feels indulgent to them because we've been taught that it should be a sufferfest, and we should be eating like cornflakes or Special K, maybe Sultana bran, or light and tasty. Like, just don't, I can't even walk down the cereal aisle without getting quite triggered these days.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
It's quite bad. The I suppose without mumbling too much, the misleading messaging on cereal packets.
The greenwashing,
Greenwashing is a very, very good way to put it, and we might sound like it, but we're not complete conspiracy theorists, not all the time anyway. But there's some amazing, just take a look next time you're in the cereal aisle. Take a look at what the messages are telling you. Like, it might say low GI, might say 20% of your protein needs, which according to the government guidelines is about a quarter of what you should be having. And then, all sorts. Low fat, high fiber.
I was watching something very interesting the other day. I am like low-key obsessed with Formula One. Like, this is so weird. I never used to be until Netflix put out Drive to Survive. Anyway, I was watching, I think it was a reel actually, and it was one of the drivers, and he had been given a packet of Tim Tams, of all things, and the reporter was like, oh, eat one, open them and eat one. And he looked at the back, and he's like, it's like 0.5 out of however many stars good for me. Like, I am like a professional athlete. Why would I put this in my body? Like, he was just like, I'm not even going to humor you by even opening that packet. He's like, I've never seen like a company promote how bad it is for you. I shook my head. I was like, oh my goodness. But that's something I started doing, was turning packets over of everything and looking at ingredients, and the less ingredients, the better. And then I would just start to buy it. So my stuff I would buy at the supermarket just really started to, like, you know, funnel in, and I just only buy the same sorts of things. Like, you can make so many different things with very few ingredients. I don't know if it's cheaper or not.
No, that makes me so happy, and it's exactly what I tell my clients, because as soon as you are buying something with 16 ingredients, you're paying someone else's marketing budget.
Yes.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're paying for a team of scientists to formulate the food, a marketing and advertising team to come up with really clever, catchy slogans to tell you why you should eat their product.
Yes.
Everything else.
Yes.
And then they throw a few cheap ingredients in there and pay a graphic designer to make it look beautiful.
Yes, and I think...
And then I think a lot, so from there...
If I can't read it, I pretty much will put it back. Or if it's got heaps of numbers and brackets on the back, I'm like, yeah, that's probably not that great for me. So I'll put it back on the shelf and look at a different product of the same, and see what I can find that's better.
And it's quite a minefield, isn't it, in terms of ingredients. Most people start their eating over 100 ingredients a day. Because if you it's shocking, right?
Yeah.
If you add up your standard muesli, your standard yogurt, and then you might have a bagel for lunch, and then you might have some crackers as an afternoon snack. Yeah, it's really interesting when you start to tot it all up.
That's crazy, isn't it? So this is the thing. So if something's going on in your body, how do you even know where to start with, like, what it could be, like how I said about the dairy thing earlier. Yeah. I knew that was it, but we were eating basic anyway. But then you think about that, you're like, oh my God.
So when you're at that point, it could be anything. So I think, just stripping back the ingredients in the products you buy, or just stripping back the ingredients in every meal.
Yes.
Just try and make every ingredient a whole food to start with.
And I think another sort of concept that I sort of live by, I guess, now is I really believe in and live by everything is energy, which essentially it is, and the same with food. And I think if I love it and it makes me feel good, and maybe someone's made brownie with love and it's full of sugar, I'm still going to have a piece. I don't see why not doing those things is actually going to make me feel any better. It could potentially make me feel worse, because when you love what you're eating, you feel good about it, and the energy in the food is making you feel even better. It's such a big concept, but I feel like when you're enjoying the food and it's fueling you up, it's giving you really good energy. If you're banging a McDonald's into your body every single day, chances are you're feeling very low vibrational, in the kindest way possible.
That's really interesting as well, because it might sound hippie to some people, but it's quite factual.
It is.
If we eat with love, with people that we're surrounded by, who we care about, we've taken time to prepare the food, and we're in a relaxed state, it's processed very differently by our bodies than if we, what did you just say, grab a McDonald's,
go through the drive-thru and shove it in while we're driving around the roundabout at Queenstown. You're dropping chips right in centre. But it's such a, and I can understand that a lot of people will find that very hard to maybe digest that concept, because it is quite far out there, I guess, if you're just hearing about it. But I love being in the kitchen and preparing good food, and I feel like when I do that, it doesn't matter what it is, it's still good for me.
Yeah. I would agree. Home cooking is one of the, that's one of the cornerstones, I think, that can really help people. Yeah. Just to begin with.
Yeah. Simple. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes, I was going to say, keep it simple, stupid.
That might be a good time to wrap it up so we don't keep it too late. Your takeaway dessert, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Have you got any other final thoughts for people?
I think my final thought is, and it obviously relates to food, working out, but also at this time of year, making sure you are going out of your way to make yourself feel good, whether that is putting on good clothes, putting on makeup, because it's that old sort of, I don't know if it's an old concept in you, but, look good, feel good, do good. You do good when you feel like you look good, and that's exercising and obviously fueling your body, putting on good clothes, and then you're feeling good, so you're going to be producing potentially better work, or whatever the case may be, relationships, anything. Look good, feel good, do good. Do it.
And what a final note to finish on. Krista, thank you. And cheers. Thank you guys for listening. And if you've got any questions for Krista, be sure to flick us a line.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We really appreciate it. And if you would like the free tips, information, podcasts and health hacks to keep coming, please do share this with a friend or take 2 seconds to leave us a review. You can get more free tips and information over on our Food for Thought blog on the website and also on Instagram at Amy's Fitness and Nutrition.